the Red Sox trading for Tarik Skubal? With each report that comes out, it seems less and less crazy. So to dive into it, we are bringing in Brian Burrows of the BoSox Injection to join the show for the first time. And Brian, I mean, it sounds so bizarre the first time you hear it, but we just start to hear more and more. Tarik Skubal, best pitcher in the American League over the last 2 years, could be about to win his second straight Cy Young Award. Why would the Tigers trade him?
I mean, I think the biggest reason they're looking to trade him is because he'll be a free agent at the end of next season. Detroit's not a small market, but they don't splash the cash like some of the huge markets do, like New York and like LA. And Skubal's going to garner a massive contract, probably going to break Yoshinobu Yamamoto's contract record that he set with the Dodgers. So knowing that, they could either let him play out, give him the qualifying offer after next season, get a draft pick for him, or get a massive haul for him this offseason and in a trade.
Well, let's talk about the haul, shall we? If the Red Sox do pull this off, everyone talking about now the report from The Athletic that they want to make a trade for a starter, not through free agency, which actually does make some sense with this free agency. It's not the best pitching free agency class we've ever seen. So if they're going to make this bold ass trade to go and get Tarik Skubal from the Tigers, what is that haul going to look like?
I mean, I think first it'll be headlined by either Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu. More likely Jarren Duran. I think they really like Wilyer in right field. And with Roman Anthony, he was kind of projected to play left field. So it's highlighted by Duran. I mean, he's been the guy being floated around in all the trade rumors this offseason, so he's highlighting it. It's going to be one of your young starting pitchers who is MLB ready. Look at Peyton Tolley, Connolly Early, like one of those two, maybe Hunter Dobbins, but I don't know that he's got the potential. Probably earlier Tolley, who really showed what they have this at the end of this season. And then you're looking at least two of the top prospects, maybe Arias, the password Garcia, maybe Kyson Witherspoon because he's eligible to be traded now. It'll probably at least two of those guys. I mean, it's going to be a massive haul. They're going to the Tigers are going to be killing no matter where they send him to if they trade him. And the Red Sox, if they're going to do it, they better be willing to give up a lot.
So let's go off of that. So obviously not Roman Anthony. Like that's we've gone past that being a part of a discussion here. But not hearing Marcelo Meyer's name in there too, which I haven't heard from any of the reports either. Does that make you think differently as someone if you were in the Red Sox position?
I think maybe, though I don't know that it's out of the realms of possibility that he's included with that deal. I think his stock took a little bit of a hit this year. He didn't show he was fully MLB ready at the plate, though his defense looked like all-star caliber already, but his stock took a slight hit. The Tigers also have some middle infield prospects already ready to go. Like Kevin McGonigal, like top 2 prospect in baseball, is going to be a middle infielder. He's just short right now. Some say he might move to second when he gets to the big leagues. I think he's playing third in the Arizona Fall League. They also have Bryce Rainier, who's in the low minors right now, but probably could rocket up the system pretty soon. So I don't know that they would necessarily want Meyer right away with him being a middle infielder, maybe a third baseman. But you never know. I mean, he is not out of the realm of possibility that he is one of the headliners of that deal as well.
Good news is for Red Sox fans, it's been a long time since they've had this kind of flexibility with their prospects. Like they can't afford to trade. Like normally, 4 years ago, let's say, the idea of trading Jarren Duran would not have been a very sexy one around Boston. Team control guy who finished top 10 in the MVP voting. And now Red Sox fans are like, sure, get rid of him. Yeah. Have him headline a deal. And I think I feel the same way of like, absolutely. If it can help you get Tarik Skubal in here. And let's just say again that it pans out and you do get Tarik Skubal in here, no matter what the return is, you've got Crochet and Skubal at the top of your rotation. And Brian Burrows at number 3 is a pretty good spot to be in what we saw from him, especially in the summer of last year. So if that happens, do the Red Sox have the best rotation in baseball?
I mean, it's up there. It's hard to say with the Dodgers right now that they'd have the best rotation, but it'd definitely be the best 1-2 punch. Nobody's beating Crochet and Skubal at the top of any rotation. It's just when you get to the bottom of their rotation, the 4 or 5, especially with the young guys who are a little bit more unproven. But that top 2, and Bayo is your 3. I mean, you're rivaling the Dodgers. You might even be better than the Dodgers as far as a 1-2-3 go.
You definitely wouldn't be going out of the wild card round if you were throwing those 1-2 against the Yankees. In fact, you probably wouldn't even be playing in the wild card round. But man, that would be a heck of a matchup with Cole back for the Yankees as well. But that's a long way down the line. I do want to throw this out there. So all the reasons you talk about with Skubal, Detroit, kind of a mid-market team. They're way off apparently on what their number is versus what Skubal's number is. And so that's what the primary concern is. And there's a little bit more of a guarantee that Tarik Skubal's at least on the market. But if you're looking at this from the Red Sox point of view, is there any thought of like, well, Paul Skeens is going to have to go through the same issue with the Pirates. It's probably not right now, right? It's probably a year or two from now. But is there people in the Red Sox organization that could be thinking, how about we go for the younger guy who's just as good in a year or two?
I mean, you'd think it'd be what thought in their head, but it's hard to be like, well, the Red Sox are almost ready now. Like they could be World Series contenders next year. Plus Gaines probably isn't available. I mean, it's just too early into his MLB tenure. Probably. He would also cost a lot more with how much team control left he has. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're the Red Sox, you can be like, well, let's not get Skubal because maybe in a few years we can get Skeens. But again, you're going to be fighting the same teams in a few years for Skeens as you are now. And right now, your position probably better than you will be in a few years with Skeens, with those players kind of growing. Who knows what moves you make in those few years? Who knows who's still around on the team to trade away at that point?
I kind of hinted at it earlier, but how much of this has to do with what this free agent market is for starting pitchers and how do you rate it? Like when you look at this free agency class for starters, is there anyone that you're like, I actually really wish the Red Sox would go after him instead of a trade?
It's hard because there are some really good guys at the top. I mean, you look at Dylan Cease, who has finished multiple top five in the, multiple times in the top five of the Cy Young. Michael King has shown a lot of promise. Framber Valdez has looked pretty good in Houston and has the playoff experience. But they're not that like true ace type. They all come with their concerns. So that's probably what makes Skeens like Skubal that much more enticing. And of course, I mean, he's probably going to be back-to-back Cy Young winner when he gets traded, if he does.
Yeah, that's a pretty good part of it too, for sure. I do want to ask about one guy who looked like he was going to hit the market, and that was Shane Bieber. He ends up opting in Toronto, and I think that surprised a lot of people, especially with 1 year when he could have got a multi-year deal out there. There's probably going to be a lockout. There's probably going to be a work stoppage in MLB next season. So did that kind of take you by surprise that he opted into that?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked. Bieber was kind of projected like the more steady of all the guys that was going to hit the market. Like before the injuries, he had been a very kind of like a steady Eddie, top of the rotation guy, was probably going to get a multi-year 100+, maybe closing in a $200 million contract. But I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. He really liked his time in Toronto. Mm-hmm. He wasn't like exactly what he had been before the Tommy John at the end of this season. So you had to think he just made the World Series. That team is primed to be a contender again. And he can just stay there, rebuild his value on a contract, not have to worry about hitting the open market, and maybe win a World Series ring next year with Toronto.
I'm going to throw another name at you before we kind of look internally at the Red Sox. But another name that's surprisingly on the market starting pitching, Shota Imanaga. I know it was kind of a weird contract and the weird opt-out. It wasn't exactly like what Bieber's was. That's a little bit more conventional. But the Cubs did not want the 3-year option. Shota Imanaga ends up becoming a free agent. What do you think the market is for him? I don't know how much he fits the Red Sox in terms of, if you're bringing in another lefty, it's got to be like Skubal, pretty dominant. But what does the market look like for someone like Shota Imanaga?
He's going to have a very interesting market because I think there's going to be probably 1 or 2 teams that are going to throw him maybe Luis Severino contract, 3 for $60, something in that range. But his down the stretch this season, he really faltered. Yeah. In the friendly confines of Wrigley, he struggled with the home run ball. And I think that's going to make a lot of teams worried. I think places that are more pitcher friendly, maybe more apt to give him that contract. You look at maybe San Diego, who just did the same thing with Nick Pivetta, a guy who had problems with the home run ball, but a huge part keeps the ball in the yard more. But I do think there's a chance he's going to get maybe a 1+1 or a 1+2 prove it contract and maybe re-hit the market next year. I mean, he's only 32, 33 years old, so he has a chance to stick around for a few more years after this if he does do just a 1-year contract to prove that he still has what he showed in his rookie year last year.
Red Sox do need to make a decision today, though, whether or not to extend the qualifying offer to Lucas Giolito. Now, you wrote this week for BoSox Injection that it would be a mistake for the Red
Yes.
Sox to extend that qualifying offer for Giolito. Why is that?
The Red Sox are nearing the luxury tax. And okay, for Boston, this shouldn't be a problem, but the reality is it is
We've
a
seen it.
problem
Yeah.
for them.
We've seen
Yeah,
that it is a problem to this front office. Yeah.
they have some big moves they want to make. They need to re-sign Alex Bregman. They need to bring in another bat. Those are going to cost a lot of money. The qualifying offer this year is a little over $22 million. That's a huge hit to the luxury tax for a guy who, yes, at times this season, he looked like a top of the rotation arm, but the kind of behind the scenes numbers, the underlying metrics showed he was kind of overperforming what he should have this year. I just don't know that he's worth that $22 million when you need a guy who's better than him and who's can like just be that number 2 behind Crochet, which he didn't show at full this season, and the injury problems are still lingering.
Yeah, and it was no surprise that after 100 innings after elbow surgery in late August, he hits 100 innings, and you're like, oh, wow, the velocity's going down. The hard hit rate's going up. He's walking more guys. Yeah, it shouldn't have been a surprise to a lot of Red Sox fans. You were just hoping, he was running on fumes the rest of the season, and obviously didn't quite get to the finish line with that. We've talked about the free agent class, and I think we already knew before this Tarik Skubal report the Red Sox were going to be in the trade market for starting pitching. Obviously, the name that's been hot for months now is Joe Ryan. But having said all that and talking about the luxury tax, do you think that Red Sox fans will be forgiving of ownership for making another trade for pitching because of this free agent market? Or do you think they say, well, here's the Red Sox again, not willing to spend the money?
That's going to depend on if they spend that money on a bat. If they don't go out and bring someone in on top of Bregman, like if they don't re-sign Bregman, that's a problem first off. If they don't also bring in another bat with him, then yeah, the fans can be justifiably mad that they didn't spend the money that they saved getting rid of Rafael Devers.
Yeah.
I don't think with the free agent market for pitching isn't quite there. So making a trade for a controllable guy who maybe either has already signed a long-term extension or is just under team control for more than one season, that I don't think you can be mad about that with the way the market is currently looking, as long as they spend the money. That's the big caveat.
We are talking with Brian Burrows of BoSox Injection, talking Red Sox offseason. Speaking of Bregman, Jim Bowden, former GM, now media guy, said he wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox do not commit long-term to Alex Bregman, which has been kind of a back and forth since we knew by the end of August that he was going to opt out of this contract. So where do you prioritize signing Alex Bregman? And can the Red Sox still have a big offseason if they don't re-sign Alex Bregman?
First priority, it is priority number 1. You cannot get this offseason without him being in a Red Sox uniform next season. I know there was some hesitancy last season about it, but he showed this year, despite the injury, that he has what it takes to be in Boston. He is the leader. You can't put a price tag on what he did in the clubhouse this year, how much of a mentor he was for the young guys to show them what it was like to be a major leaguer, what it was like to make the playoffs and be that team that everybody needs to be afraid of. You just can't put a price tag on that. He needs to be back in Boston. To your second point, I don't think you can consider it a big offseason if he's not back. I don't care how much money you spend on other free agents. I don't even care if it's Kyle Tucker and you give him $400 million. If Alex Bregman is not back in Boston, this offseason was a failure.
And it definitely feels that way. I know there's a soft underbelly of the Red Sox fan base that's like, oh, he doesn't want $40 million. He didn't even play half the season. But the vibes early in the season when he was here and all the stories of how he helped this team, I just think it would be a mistake if they don't bring Bregman back either. So I agree with you on that. And you also said, and I think a lot of us believe, you need to go out and get another bat on top of Bregman. There's more holes that you need to fill. It's painfully obvious in that wild card series. So what are some of the names that you look at for power bats, preferably right-handed, but I know there's a big left-handed bat out there that the Red Sox might have some interest in.
I mean, the number 1 right-handed bat is Pete Alonso. There's some kind of issues there with Alonso as far as defensive ability, is he going to be a DH later into that contract? But if you need right-handed power right now, that is Pete Alonso. You just kind of alluded to it. Kyle Schwarber is available. I don't know that he's necessarily the best fit in Boston. Breslow has said he doesn't want a DH only, which we already have in Yoshida pretty much. They're both left-handed. If Schwarber's coming in, you have to figure out a way to get rid of Yoshida, even if that's eating the money. Is he a better fit in Boston than Yoshida? absolutely. But like they kind of showed it last season. Nobody really wants that contract Yoshida has. You're going to have to attach a decent prospect to get rid of him in any type of trade. So I don't know that Schwarber's like the best fit in Boston this offseason. If it was next offseason, who knows? But he's available now. I don't know that the Red Sox should be pursuing him like Alex Cora seems to really want to.
This seems so funny, Brian, of like, it's kind of known by now that like they let Schwarber walk. They knew in a year that they would have more financial flexibility, and they basically did that to get Masataka Yoshida. And now he's the worst contract on the team. And they possibly can't get Kyle Schwarber in the door because they have Masataka Yoshida. It's just such, and by the way, in those 4 years since, nobody has more home runs in baseball than Kyle Schwarber. Like it's so cruel, man. It is so cruel. I can't even. Oh,
I think the craziest thing about the Schwarber thing too is that we had kind of taught him first base. It wasn't great, but it would have sufficed until Cassis was ready, because that was also their big thing. It's like, well, we have Tristan Cassis coming, so we don't need a first baseman. It's like with JD Martinez was on the team at the time, you could have played Schwarber at first for one more season, half a season, whatever. You let JD walk like you did, and then Schwarber slides to the DH, and that power could have been in Boston. We could have been in the playoffs 2 years ago.
Just don't tease me like that. Don't tease me like that. It hurts. It hurts. I'm one who doesn't like. I understand the concerns. I've heard it from a lot of Mets fans of Pete Alonso at first base. But like, if you're going to hide anybody in the infield, that's the place to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the Red Sox have other issues around the infield that could be solved if you re-sign Bregman. Myers playing shortstop for however many games he can play in a season, and Story's playing second base, with how he was in September. I think that does kind of solve a lot. Last question for you, Brian, though. Last question. We've heard a lot about Alonso. We've heard a lot about Joe Ryan. We've heard a lot about Kyle Schwarber. Is there anyone under the radar that you're like, man, this could really fit a need for the Red Sox and isn't going to break the bank, or nobody's talking about him yet?
I have two names. Well, first one is Hunter Green, which I don't he's like it's not really under the radar. His name's been floated around a little bit, but it was kind of more just like a mailbag side of they could be available. I don't think it was fully reported that he is available, but he's cost controlled. He's got a long-term extension. He's proving that he is an ace. Like he could be a 1B to Crochet, not even a number 2. He could be a 1B to Crochet if he can stay healthy, which is the biggest caveat with him. Like he hasn't shown that he can stay healthy for a full season, but he looks incredible. And the Reds need an outfielder. So, the other name that I have,
Jared Duran, huh? You like him?
Yeah. The other name that I have, which I haven't seen anywhere, and it's just a name that I kind of found doing a little like looking around some stuff, is Reynaldo Lopez. 2 years ago, he was like a Cy Young contender until he got hurt at the end of the season. He had a sub-2 ERA over like 25 starts. He was incredible. He's also on just a 2-year. It's essentially just a 1+1 contract. It's $14 million for next year. It's $8 million club option the year after that. He missed all of last season with an injury, but he probably wouldn't cost a lot. He's not going to cost you like a Jarren Duran or anything. He'll cost a much lower player or prospect, and it could be like a nice reclamation project. Obviously, you want the more sustainable player, but like he could be an option as a guy who showed in Atlanta that he has what it takes to be that number 2 behind, because he was number 2 behind Sale and Strider. So like he could be that guy for you. It's just there's some risk there with the injuries and stuff.
Brian Burrows, BoSox injection. I kept him on longer than I told him I would, because this is such good stuff. But Brian, before we get you out of here, let the people know, how can they follow your work? How can they find your under the radar Red Sox free agent trade picks the rest of the offseason?
You can find me on BoSox injection. Find my any articles with my name on it, Brian Burrows, and then if you click my name at the top of the article, you can see everything that I've written. You can also find me on Twitter, Brian_Burrows11.
It's a great follow. He does some great work. So does everyone at BoSox Injection. It's genuinely one of my go-tos. So, Brian, appreciate you taking the time and coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
There he goes, Brian Burrows. BoSox Injection, keeping us up to date on Tarik Skubal, Kyle Schwarber, all the other big names floated out in this Red Sox offseason. Who do you think the Red Sox should get? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. It helps me keep my job, and it helps you get all the Boston Sports Talk content without any of the BS that you hear on Boston Sports Talk Radio every lunchtime, every weekday, noon Eastern time, live on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts as well.